They did it. WWE actually did it. They took the most dominant force in professional wrestling history, the Beast incarnate, the man who ended the streak, the Conqueror, and they had him destroyed by someone most casual fans have never even heard of. And before you keyboard warriors start typing it's fake or it's scripted, we know. But this isn't about kayfabe. This is about years of careful booking being potentially thrown away in one segment. This is about Vince McMahon's final monster being dismantled on Paul Levesque's watch. And honestly, some of you need to hear this. If you're okay with what happened to Brock Lesnar on SmackDown, you don't actually understand professional wrestling. You just don't. So sit there, get angry, and let me explain why this moment might be the most dangerous decision WWE has made in a decade. Let's establish something right now before we go any further. Femi is talented. The man is 6'4", 270 pounds of pure athletic ability. He's got presence, he's got charisma, and in NXT, he was absolutely untouchable. His run with the North American Championship was legitimacy defined. He beat everyone they put in front of him, and he did it convincingly. So this isn't about tearing down Femi. This is about the reckless way WWE just catapulted him to the main roster by sacrificing their most valuable commodity. Because here's what actually happened on SmackDown, and I want you to really think about this. Brock Lesnar, a man who has been protected for over 2 decades, a man who kicks out of finishers like they're nothing, a man who literally needed Roman Reigns' entire bloodline to finally keep him down, got obliterated by Femi in what wasn't even a competitive fight. We're not talking about a back-and-forth war. We're not talking about Brock getting his offense in and eventually losing after a hard-fought battle. No, Femi walked through Brock Lesnar like he was a mid-card talent on main event. The ruler hit Brock with his finish once, and Lesnar was done. Finished. Destroyed. And the crowd? They popped. Of course they did. It was shocking. It was unexpected. But here's the question nobody at WWE seems to be asking: at what cost? Quick question before we continue: how many Brock Lesnar matches can you name off the top of your head? Drop your number in the comments below. Let's talk about the value of Brock Lesnar, because clearly, someone in Stamford has forgotten. Brock isn't just another name on the roster. He's not Kevin Owens. He's not Seth Rollins. He's not even Roman Reigns. Brock Lesnar is the final boss of WWE. He's the character you build toward. He's the mountain that your rising star has to climb after they've beaten everyone else. When Brock Lesnar shows up, it means something. His matches are special. His wins are devastating. His losses? They're supposed to create stars. And yes, you could argue that's exactly what happened here. Femi just became a star, right? Wrong. Because star-making moments require story. They require build. They require the audience to be invested in seeing the giant fall. Did anyone, and I mean anyone, wake up on Friday morning thinking, man, I really hope Femi debuts tonight and squashes Brock Lesnar? No, because we didn't even know was coming to SmackDown. There was no video package explaining who he is. There was no weeks-long rivalry building tension. There wasn't even a promo. He just showed up, destroyed Brock, and that was it. And now WWE expects us to believe that Femi is a legitimate main event threat because, why exactly? Because he beat Brock? But if Brock can be beaten that easily by someone we've never seen before, then what was Brock's value in the first place? Real talk, did you know who Femi was before this segment? Be honest in the comments. This is the fundamental problem with how WWE has been operating lately. They're so desperate for moments that they forget about storytelling. They want the social media clips. They want the shock value. They want everyone talking about SmackDown on Saturday morning. But they're not thinking about Saturday afternoon, or next week, or next month. They're not considering the long-term ramifications of these decisions. Think about every major Brock Lesnar loss in WWE. When he lost to Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 31, it was after Seth cashed in Money in the Bank during Brock's match with Roman. It was opportunistic. It was smart. It didn't make Brock look weak. When he lost to Goldberg at Survivor Series 2016, it was shocking, sure, but it was also Goldberg, another established legend. When Roman finally beat him, it was after years of storytelling and multiple matches. Everything was earned. But this was WWE saying, we need to make Femi immediately credible, so let's just have him destroy our most protected asset with no explanation. It's lazy. It's short-sighted. And it's disrespectful to everyone who's done the work to earn a victory over Brock Lesnar. And let's address the elephant in the room. Some of you are going to say, Brock's old now, he's pushing 50, it's time to pass the torch. Fine. I'll accept that argument. Brock Lesnar should be putting over younger talent at this stage of his career. But there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. This was the wrong way. This was the worst way. You want to elevate Femi? Great. Have him destroy some established SmackDown stars first. Have him go through Apollo Crews, have him demolish LA Knight in a competitive match, have him earn a shot at someone like Brock. Build him up over months, not minutes. Then, when he finally faces Brock, make it competitive. Make it brutal. Make it look like both men are giving everything they have. And then have Oba win. That way, Brock doesn't look like he suddenly forgot how to wrestle, and Oba looks like he overcame an impossible challenge. Who do you think should have been Oba Femi's first main roster feud? Comment below. But WWE doesn't have patience anymore. They see what AEW is doing with gradual builds and long-term storytelling, and instead of learning from it, they go the complete opposite direction. They want instant gratification. They want new stars now. And in their rush, they're cannibalizing the legacy that took decades to build. And here's the part that should terrify every WWE fan: if they can do this to Brock Lesnar, they can do it to anyone. Roman Reigns could be squashed next week by some performance center recruit to make them immediately credible. Cody Rhodes? Why not have him lose in 3 minutes to someone from NXT to create a moment? The Undertaker's streak ending meant something because it was Brock who did it, and even that was controversial. Imagine if instead, it had been some random NXT call-up with no build. That's essentially what we just witnessed. The booking philosophy seems to be shock value over substance, and it's going to bite WWE in the long run. Because here's what's going to happen: Oba Femi is going to have his next match, and when he wins, people will shrug. Of course he won, he beat Brock Lesnar. And when he loses, he's going to look weak, because if he could destroy Brock that easily, how is he losing to anyone else? It's a lose-lose situation created by one impulsive booking decision. Let's also talk about what this does to the SmackDown locker room. You're Kevin Owens, and you've been fighting Brock Lesnar for years across multiple matches, barely surviving each time. You're LA Knight, the biggest rising star in the company, and you've been scratching and clawing for main event opportunities. You're Drew McIntyre, and you've had epic wars with Brock that have defined your career. And now you watch some guy from NXT show up and beat him in under 5 minutes. How does that make you look? It makes your struggles look pathetic. It makes your wars look meaningless. If you were in the SmackDown locker room, how would you feel about this? Let me know below. This is the same company that spent 2 years building to Roman Reigns defeating Brock Lesnar. 2 years of storytelling, of back-and-forth battles, of each man getting their moment. And it culminated in one of the most satisfying conclusions to a rivalry in modern WWE history. That's how you book a giant slayer. You don't just have them walk through the giant in their first appearance. You build to it. And before anyone says, well, this is just like when Brock destroyed John Cena at SummerSlam 2014, no, it's not. Because John Cena had already been established for over a decade as WWE's top star. He'd main event countless WrestleManias. He'd won every title multiple times. Everyone knew John Cena. So when Brock obliterated him, it was shocking because we knew exactly how dominant Cena was, which made Brock look even more terrifying. Oba Femi doesn't have that established credibility with main roster audiences yet. Most people watching SmackDown had no idea who he was. So the impact is completely different. The sad truth is that WWE has become so focused on viral moments that they've forgotten the basic principles of professional wrestling storytelling. Wrestling is supposed to be about the journey, not just the destination. It's about making audiences care about the outcome before it happens. It's about emotional investment. When Daniel Bryan finally won the WWE Championship at WrestleMania 30, people cried. Not because of the move that pinned Batista, but because of everything that led to that moment. That's wrestling. This Oba Femi moment? It's empty calories. It's a shock that will be forgotten in a month because there's no substance behind it. And the worst part is that they've now handicapped Oba's main roster run before it even really started. Because instead of building him up as a credible threat that we watch grow and evolve, they just threw him at their final boss immediately and had him win. Where do you go from there? Who's he going to face next that feels like a bigger challenge than Brock Lesnar? What opponent would actually feel like a step up from Brock Lesnar for Oba? Seriously, tell me in the comments, because I can't think of anyone. The other issue here is that this completely kills any potential for a real feud between these two. Imagine if they'd done this properly. Oba debuts, cuts a promo about how he's conquered NXT and now he's here for the main roster. Brock doesn't take him seriously at first. They have a confrontation. Oba does something to embarrass Brock. They build to a match over several weeks. That match could have been a spectacle. It could have been promoted. It could have meant something. And if Oba won that match, it would have felt earned. Instead, we got a random segment on a random SmackDown that will be forgotten by the time Royal Rumble comes around. It's the wrestling equivalent of fast food, quick, gets a reaction, but ultimately unsatisfying and bad for you in the long run. And let's talk about what this means for NXT. The whole point of NXT is to develop talent before they hit the main roster, to teach them how to work WWE's style, how to connect with audiences, how to tell stories. Oba Femi was doing all of that in NXT. He was developing. He was growing. He was becoming a complete performer. But by rushing him to the main roster and having him immediately squash Brock Lesnar, WWE just told everyone that none of that development mattered. You don't need to gradually build a character or learn how to work different styles or connect with audiences over time. Just show up and beat a legend. Easy. It sets a terrible precedent for every other NXT talent. Why should they spend years honing their craft in Orlando when they could just get called up immediately and be booked to beat established stars? It devalues the entire developmental process. Look, I get it. Some of you are excited about Femi. Some of you think this was a great debut. And maybe, in 6 months, we'll look back at this and I'll have been completely wrong. Maybe WWE has a brilliant long-term plan that we can't see yet. Maybe this is the start of something incredible. But based on WWE's track record with sudden call ups and shock moments, I'm not holding my breath. How many times have we seen this exact pattern? Someone from NXT gets called up with huge momentum, they get one big moment, and then, nothing. They're forgotten. They're directionless. They're on main event within 3 months. Remember when Keith Lee debuted on Raw and everyone thought he was going to be a main eventer? Remember Karrion Kross's call-up? Remember what they did to Ember Moon, to Andrade, to Ricochet before he left? WWE has a terrible track record with this, and there's no reason to believe Femi will be any different. Except now, they've wasted Brock Lesnar in the process. The Brock Lesnar aura is broken now. That's the reality. You can't have him return in 6 months and expect people to fear him the same way. You can't have him destroy everyone again and expect it to feel special. Because everyone will remember the time when Femi, in his first main roster appearance, walked through him like he was nothing. That image is in people's heads now, and you can't unring that bell. And for what? For one viral clip? For a few extra Twitter mentions? For a YouTube thumbnail? That's what WWE traded Brock Lesnar's credibility for. That's the exchange they made. And honestly, it's insulting to everyone who's been watching and supporting this company for years. Last question for all of you: do you think WWE can recover from this and actually build Femi into a legitimate main event star? Or is he destined to be another failed call-up? And more importantly, can Brock ever recover his aura after this? Drop your honest opinions in the comments, and please share this video if you agree or if I made you angry. Either way, WWE needs to hear from the fans about this. This was a mistake. A huge mistake. And if you can't see that, you're not looking at the bigger picture. You're not thinking about what this means for the future of WWE booking, for the value of legends, for the development of new stars. You're just reacting to the moment, which is exactly what WWE wants. But wrestling is supposed to be more than moments. It's supposed to be stories. And this? This wasn't a story. This was just chaos disguised as creativity. Thanks for watching Wrestling World CC. If you're angry, good. Be angry. Leave a comment telling me why I'm wrong. If you agree with me, share this everywhere and let WWE know that we're paying attention. This isn't the end of this conversation. Not even close.